everyone. This is my 23-week pregnancy update, but I am recording it at 30 weeks pregnant. I have been trying to catch up on the weeks I missed. So some of the things I say are just from memory or from an app that I'm looking at that says, this is what happened at week 23. So my apologies for that. As some of you may know, I had an incident where I was actually quite well caught up, but it was on a different computer that my son happened to mess with in a way that I can't retrieve anything off of it. So I had held out hope for a while that I was going to be able to get those videos back, but as I have not, I have just been re-recording them. I am trying to do it in a different space than I normally do, so we'll see if the audio is better or worse in this space, and then if it is better, maybe I'll start doing the update videos from this space. So at 23 weeks pregnant, I had a chiro appointment. As if you've been following my journey this pregnancy, I've been having terrible back pain. So I've found chiropractic care to be immensely helpful. At this point, he gave me some stretches to do. I've been trying to stay very active during this pregnancy, and I also stayed very active when I was pregnant with Oliver. However, these stretches, in addition to what I was already doing, did bring me a lot of relief. And he said at my next appointment that he could already tell that I was doing the stretches based on my posture and the adjustments that he was giving me. So that was really beneficial for me at 23 weeks pregnant. I remember at 23 weeks pregnant, I was thinking to myself, I was like, this is for sure over halfway, because lots of people say, oh, 20 weeks, you're halfway done, but some pregnancies last up to 42 weeks. So by the time you get to week 23, it's a pretty safe bet that you're over the halfway mark, for sure. So another thing that goes on at week 23 is your baby is about the size of a grapefruit, and you can likely feel movements now. I tend to feel fetal movement quite early based on my anatomy. If you're not feeling fetal movement by week 23, it might be based on where your placenta is located, and your healthcare provider can probably figure that out for you. I do not do ultrasounds other than the dating ultrasound. So for me, when they're checking where the placenta is, it's actually based more on what they can hear through a stethoscope or what they can hear on a Doppler, because you can hear a pulse in the placenta, so they can tell where the placenta is located versus where the baby is, because they can hear the baby's heartbeat. Over there, they can hear that over there, and that's the way it goes. I hope that made sense. I also want to acknowledge that I have been receiving more requests for breastfeeding videos, and I do hope to do some how-to breastfeed videos. I do want to say once again, as I said in my previous video, that there are some great resources out there already. So if you are interested, if you're having a baby, if you are wanting to learn how to breastfeed, please check those out. Emily Norris has a great how-to breastfeed video that I watched when I was pregnant with Oliver, and I found that really helpful. And she had also linked a more medical video as well. So I highly suggest you check both of those out. I also read the Nursing Mother's Handbook. It's a very big book, but I highly recommend it. I've been rereading sections of it in this pregnancy as well, because I'm planning on tandem breastfeeding, because I have a toddler who's still breastfeeding and I'm going to be breastfeeding a newborn. So between those two things, I hope that gives you lots of good information, though I will still try and do a how-to video as well. It's really going to be an experiential video and just an opinion-based video of things that worked for me, because I'm not a healthcare provider, I'm not a lactation consultant. I just know what worked for me and the things that I learned from the materials I looked at when I was pregnant with Oliver. What else happened at week 23? I don't think anything too exciting. I didn't have any prenatal appointments. I didn't have a hypnobirthing session or anything like that, just a chiro. And I think at this point I was feeling okay. This pregnancy has been really interesting because I have found that lots of my symptoms have been more intense. However, I feel like I've had greater relief kind of in between for some things. My back pain has definitely been the biggest symptom that's been the longest lasting and the most intense. My nausea in my first trimester was absolutely terrible. However, unlike my pregnancy with Oliver, where I was nauseous all the way up until the day I gave birth, I have had relief in between the first trimester and now. Not a full week of relief. I've definitely experienced nausea and vomiting on most weeks, but I feel like I've had more days where I feel better than worse. One thing that I noted from one of the apps that I was looking at was that at this point, lots of women report feeling kind of fuzzy, like getting brain fog. And I think that that's something that I start very early in pregnancy and lasts really far into postpartum for me. So I don't think it started at week 23 for me. I think it started at week 1. But if you're 23 weeks pregnant and you're experiencing that, that's very normal. I also saw just on Instagram a little a picture that said some weird symptoms that happen in the second trimester that I wanted to share with you. One of the things that it said in this picture was foot growth, and I can tell you my feet are so huge. They grow so much, and I already had big feet to begin with when I was pregnant with Oliver, and I went up about half a foot shoe size when I was pregnant with Oliver, and I can guarantee you I've gone up probably another half foot size since I've been pregnant with this baby. So that is a weird one. Nosebleeds, I think I've shared that in previous videos that I tend to get nosebleeds while pregnant. So yeah, I definitely have been getting that. Dizziness is not one that I particularly get a lot of, but maybe if I'm changing positions too rapidly, like getting up too quick or something like that, I would be dizzy, but not that much. And then some women get, I think, and I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong, a line, Nagira, I think it's called, that goes down their stomach. And I noticed that I think my skin is just like super fair, and when I'm really pregnant, I don't really see it, but through my postpartum, I did notice, like, as my stomach was coming back together and shrinking, I did notice the line. So that's kind of interesting for me, is that I don't really show it actually while I'm pregnant, but I do show it postpartum. So if that happens for you, that's the thing. The only places that I have stretch marks are places that I acquired those stretch marks actually in my adolescence. I didn't get any stretch marks when I was pregnant with Oliver, and knock on wood that I don't get any with this baby as well. So I have some very old, just like white little stretch marks on my hips, and I have some large stretch marks on my breasts, again from when I was an adolescent. So some things that I suggest is really moisturize, like moisturize all the time. And I tend to be like a moisturizing freak. When I wasn't pregnant, like all the time after the bath, I would just cover myself in coconut oil. So that is something that I have continued to do, probably not to as excessively as I did before I was pregnant with Oliver, but I did throughout my pregnancy with Oliver, and I've been doing throughout my pregnancy now. But I think the biggest thing is having really moisturized skin even before you are pregnant or before you start showing. And the reason why I say this is that, like, once you already have a stretch mark, there's very little you can do about it. So if you can have really elasticy, moisturized skin before you start on that journey, I think that will probably do you a very good service. So coconut oil is one that I use a lot of. And then the other one that I've used a little bit of is Egyptian Magic. It's a lotion, I think, specially designed for preventing stretch marks. But I do want to say that nothing prevents stretch marks if it is in your destiny to get a stretch mark, because from everything I've read, stretch marks tend to just be genetic. So if your mom had really bad stretch marks in her pregnancies, you're likely going to have really bad stretch marks in your pregnancy. And that's just the way it is. And stretch marks are fine. Like, honestly, the ones that I have from when I was a teenager, they are very, very fine now. You could only really see them if you were looking for them, or you're like me and you know where they are. So week 23, if you're going to get stretch marks, they may have already started to show up. boobies as big as a grapefruit, you're likely feeling fetal movement, and you might be feeling, you know, good and energetic. Me, I don't know if I was or am. I am a toddler mom, so I'm tired all the time. But thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe for keeping up with my motherhood journey, and check out my Instagram, please, and check out my blog. I try to post on my Instagram, you know, 2 or 3 times a week, and I try and post on my blog weekly. And of course, on this YouTube channel, I do try and get 1 or 2 videos up per week. So thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for my 30-week update, which will come out in a few